see 6 people are viewing right now, but that's only 2 that replied so far. So now we got 10 people. John Dornbush just commented. Tim Corsiak, he's on. So we got 10 viewers now, so we're picking them up. So as soon as you go live there, I'll switch off over here. We got Randy French, Joe's Trucking, Holder's Garage, Marty Nelson. Oh boy, they're all coming in fast now. Johnson C&C Design, that must be my Heine. We got Mike McNamara. I'm hoping I say that right. Might be McNamara. I'm not sure on that, but.
I see Brandon. Marty Nelson.
You see Brandon now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, they're all coming in fast. All right, guys. I'm
So
going to switch
how?
up here.
Can you see my dad?
Yeah.
Where?
We're going to go over to the laptop.
How?
DCI Motorsports, but no. Yep.
We got Mike McNamara.
And then do the Unleashed podcast.
Yeah, but
And then.
interesting.
Yep.
What is it? You seen both of us?
Uh-huh.
Wow, that was weird.
Hey, everybody.
So
how? Can you see my dad? Where?
Alright, guys. So I don't know if Brian's on here from B&R Racing or not, but I ran into him at the PRI trade show whenever we were leaving. He was just coming in. He was coming down the escalator, and he was looking at me, and I'm looking at him. Of course, I'd never seen Brian before, so I didn't know who he was, but he was looking at me pretty hard, so I was looking back. So he recognized me from our podcast.
This is actually the last show of the year too.
Yeah, you know what? We won't be here next week, guys, because it'll be Christmas. So we will be with our families like you guys should be. And then the week after that, when's New Year's?
After that.
Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday after that?
Yep.
Jesus. My bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a bath over here and pop.
Jesus.
Damn, it's not even spiked.
I know, right? But anyway, so we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. We're not going to be back until what?
After the first.
Yeah.
The first week of January.
So that would be the 8th?
Actually, it'd be the second week of January. So, yeah.
January 8th. All right, guys. So that, we won't be back for 2 weeks after tonight.
Yep, on the 8th.
Yeah, January 8th. And that's going to start our new year. So, we're going to hopefully be a little more organized because we've been shooting from the hip, and we want to try to get a little bit more professional this coming year. So anyhow, it looks like we got Old School Twist, and I think I said Joe's Trucking already, but I'm not sure.
Jason said to do a live New Year's. He's going to be here. Like, he's going to be watching it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? We might stream New Year's Eve. That would be fun because we do have a gathering here at the shop. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do that. That'd be a good idea. What are you using for a camera? The laptop?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even have time to grab all my stuff.
All right. So I know that some of you guys on here are pretty much against putting an LS engine in a Pontiac engine or a Pontiac body. And I get it. You know, it's a GM corporate motor. I don't really consider it a GM Chevy engine. I just consider it a corporate engine. So I'm kind of mixed on it. I mean, obviously, I prefer a Pontiac in a Pontiac body. That's what I like. That's what I would build if I'm going to build a Pontiac. I'm not going to put an LS engine in it. But if I'm building a GMC pickup truck or an old Chevy truck or an old Camaro, I don't have a problem putting an LS engine in there. So, you know, I want to see what you guys' thoughts are on all that tonight. If you guys think that that's taboo or is it going to hurt the value of the car? That's the big thing. I know because Pontiac guys are just bent on not putting an LS engine in their car. And you see them now a lot. You see a lot of Pro Touring and not Pro Touring, but the other one. Can't even think of it now. I had a hectic day today, so you're going to have to bear with me. My brain's not with it right now. literally chasing my tail all day. But what's the other one we do? Pro touring and the come on,
race cars.
help me out. No, Presto Mod.
Oh,
Presto
yeah.
Mod. That's what it is. So it took me a little bit. My brain went in limp mode, like our computer. Anyhow, so you see a lot of LS engines getting put in Resto Mods and Pro Touring Pontiacs now, and you know that's okay, but it's cookie cutter in my opinion. I would rather have a Pontiac engine with something unique like DCI Motorsports Raymer 5 hits.
Yeah. BNR Racing said he met you at PRI and you're 6'4" tall.
Yeah, he goes, I thought you were 6'4". I said, nope, I might be 5'4". Yeah, I'm a little guy. So, but yeah, it was funny. He was coming down the escalators and from the upper level into the lobby down there in the PRI show. And he's coming off the escalator and he's looking at me and looking at me. And I'm thinking, who is this guy?
Oh, good Lord. You're a celebrity now. You can't be wanting to fight everyone.
I'm not. I didn't want to fight. I wasn't mean mugging him or nothing.
Uh-huh.
I was just trying to figure out what was going on.
So Perry says, Dark Side, stay true to the car and drivetrain. Dakota's timeout says, I would rather get spit on than see an LS swap than a Pontiac. And BNR Racing said he lost interest in the LSX after C7 Z06 came out.
Yeah. Yeah, the new LT engines too. Those are pretty cool engines. You know, the LT, they started with the LT1, now they got the LT4, and I think there's even a newer one out now than that. But you know, a lot of us guys that are into these cars are still old school. We're older guys that, you know, we don't like to mix match or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the correct terminology would be for that, but you know, we're not. We like if the car came with a Pontiac engine, that's what we like to put back in it, or Buick or Rolls or whatever. I do like the LS platform. I mean, them things make really good power for the cubic inch they are. You know, it's not hard to get 500 horsepower, and that's why us Pontiac guys like Pontiacs too. It's not real hard to get 500 horsepower out of a Pontiac engine either, even with factory heads if you know the recipe. Which is one of the things that we're going to be sharing this year on our podcast. Is we're going to start sharing recipes of different engines that we built and what the horsepower ratings are, and hopefully we get that new building put up in the back here, and we're going to get our dyno engine dyno running, and we can start doing some videos with our engine dyno, which is going to be huge. The other thing on top of that is too, and I talked to several of the CNC machine vendors at the PRI show, and I don't know where we got our number for the Haas machine at 79,000. That ain't what they cost. If we want to get one that's going to do what we need it to do, you're talking a couple $100,000.
Well, yeah, I showed you that one.
Well, you said that. I thought they were 79,000.
No, that's starting out with a small one.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's a mini mill.
So if we do a like a VF5,
yep,
with a 5-axis, that's a $200,000 machine,
yep.
And that doesn't come with any tooling, doesn't come with any software. That's just the machine. That's all you're getting. So now Rattler does have a nice deal, and but it's $270,000. And but theirs comes with the Mastercam software, I think it is, or whatever it takes to do the cylinder head porting and all that stuff. And they actually come to my shop, and they'll send a guy out whenever the machine gets delivered here to help us get it set up and show us how to run it and everything. So is it worth the extra $70,000 for the software and that personal touch? You know, I got to weigh that out. I don't know yet.
I think so.
So
because they can show me you
Mm-hmm.
how to use the machine,
Right.
and then they'll stay there, and I think it should allow a couple of days.
Actually, I don't think so. He said we can pay an extra. I forget what it is, like $2,000 a day to have him stay. So if you want him to stay for 2 more days, it'd be another $4,000.
Well, that probably wouldn't be a bad thing. Or if we know when the machine's coming, we have everything set up and ready to go. Then when he gets here,
Mm-hmm.
we start buzzing away on some junk heads. That way we can get down to the nitty gritty and say, well, why isn't it doing this?
Well, so yeah. So what we need to do is, personally, I think what we do is we take advantage of the first day that they provide, and then we get it up and running. He give us some pointers so that we can get started on that thing. Give us a quick, like, like that sheet you get whenever you assemble a TV stand. You got the drawn out blueprint for it, and you got the real quick setup for that, and that's what we need to do.
Well, it feels like when I went to Trump for training, if it's like that,
Mm-hmm.
and when they come here, they will actually ask us, okay, do you have something you want to port? Or they will have a program and will cut air.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. If we have a cylinder head or an intake ready, they will actually port one cylinder or one port.
Well, the thing of it is, we're not going to have any fixturing or anything, so or tooling. It's just all it is the machine.
Oh no, you have to get the tooling.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think they can give us a quickie, figure it out, and then the thing of it is what I got to justify is the cost. How many sets of cylinder heads can you port in a month? Because you gotta think about the payment. Payment's probably going to be
Well, that
$5 or $6 a month.
Question is going to be is how many cylinder heads are you going to be selling a month?
Well, we're going to be selling them, but they're not all going to get ported.
That's going to be the question. Once you get that program and you're throwing heads in and out,
Yeah.
it takes. I was watching a guy who does Butler's heads,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes him about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes to do a head.
To do what to a head?
Port it.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to be just porting the head. What we're going to do is we're going to, I want to machine the heads too. So.
Well, then right there, you already made your money. Then
No, I don't think so. We're not going to sell that many of it first. I mean, I have a goal that I want to try to reach the first year, but it's going to take a while to get that rolling. It's like the Raymer 5 heads. It takes a long time to get stuff moving. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know what I don't know yet. It depends on how receptive everybody is to the new products. And, so we're getting a little off track between the LS and Pontiac engine. But while we're talking about it, what I want to do say is that I need support. So, tell your friends and stuff that we're coming out with these new products and we need to sell them. So I can keep going and bring you more and more products. And hopefully the more we get to do the engine, I want to make the blocks, I want to make the head intake, which reminds me, I just sent the prototype intake off to the tooling guy. He's going to scan it and do the drawing and get it ready so we can make the changes to the intake that I want to make and get those done so that we can start getting the tooling made for that new intake manifold that's going to fit a factory Trans Am hood and work up my new cylinder head and flow enough air to supply a 300 plus CFM cylinder head.
Philip the Third asked, "Did you get the Pontiac Indian head?"
I did. You know what? I haven't even opened it yet, Philip. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Goodness.
Well, it's right here. It came in this box.
Yep, I didn't open it yet.
I've been too busy. I got too much going on. Didn't have time to open it yet. So I thought, you know what? That's perfect. We'll just open that right here on the show tonight. So, anyhow, Philip wants you to scan this. That's why he sent this. So, take a look at it.
No.
Oh, look at that.
This is from Talladega Nights.
No. That's pretty cool. That's an old Smoky Unit car. Yeah, I don't remember who drove this one though. Fireball Roberts. Yep. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Check that out, guys. That's oop, I'm not going the right way on the camera there. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Old '62 Pontiac Catalina.
Stock car version.
Yeah, well, that's what they did. Stock car back in the day. So this is off an Avon bottle, he said. So yeah,
Really?
a clone bottle. Yeah.
Huh.
So he wants us to scan that, and then you can 3D print it.
Yep. I definitely will be. I'll be playing with this for sure. Thank you, Philip.
Well, he wants that back.
No, yeah, he's getting it back. But
Okay.
I mean, thank you for letting us borrow it.
Right.
Nope, that's really cool.
It is cool. Yep. Avon, you know what? I ain't gonna say nothing bad about them people anymore. They used to be a pain in our butt. All they do is ask you to buy stuff all the time. I didn't know they were making cool stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, so yeah, we just got another guy here. Dakota's timeout. Got Steve Page on. Dave Roberts on tonight.
Michael Mithen. He
Andy
joined
Whittle,
us.
and
Mike Wolfson.
Yep. So we're getting quite a few more guys on tonight.
John
Welcome
Norbush.
everybody. So now that we're getting some of you guys on here, what do you guys think of the LS engine? I mean, not putting in a Pontiac. I'm just asking you, what do you think about the platform? What is attractive to you about the LS engine, and what are the pros and cons of an LS engine? So many guys are starting to go LS instead of big block Chevy for like their turbo builds, and from what I can see, and some of you guys are more up to date on the LS stuff than I am. We just build them. I ain't got time to watch the internet. But anyways, what's happening I see is that the factory blocks can't, well, even the aftermarket blocks, they can't take the abuse, and they're splitting, coming apart. So the guys are starting to go back to the big block Chevy again. So, you know, if that's the case, then you know, the Pontiac structure platform is probably a little bit stouter and stronger. So I'm thinking that you know that's definitely a con. The pro with an LS engine is they're readily available. You can go to any boneyard and get one. Where Pontiac engines you can't do that anymore. But if you know where to look for a Pontiac engine, you know there's tons of guys hoarded the Pontiac engines through the years and I've got a list of guys that if I need a core, I can call and they'll sell me a 400 block or 455 block or even 428s and 421s. You know, you're going to pay more money for the 428 and 421 stuff, but you know it is what it is. You can at least get it. Where you know for a long time we couldn't find that stuff. So you know everybody seems to think too that the LS engines are cheaper to build than a Pontiac engine. I'm telling you right now, guys, they are not. I just freshened the engine in my Suburban, and the problem with these new LS engines is that you not only do you have the normal wear and tear parts that you have to replace, like connecting rod and main bearings and timing chain of gears and lifters and valve springs and all that kind of stuff. With the LS platform, all the bolts are torqued to yield, and you got to throw them all away and buy new. Where the Pontiac engine is not like it. You can reuse the head bolts and the main bolts infinitely as long as you know you don't. I think they can go through so many torque cycles and then they need replaced. But for what we're doing, pretty much you can just reuse them for a few more times and not have any trouble with them. So you don't have to buy new fasteners. So that's one added expense for the LS engine. And like for my Suburban, I bought Brian Tooley's connecting rod bolts. I bought ARP mains and head studs, and those are not cheap for the LS engines. As a matter of fact, the main stud kit is more than a Pontiac main stud kit. and I think the head bolts were more money than if I were to buy a head bolt for Pontiac. So you got that expense. The other expense too, with if you're not going to build anything exotic like a big bore aftermarket block deal for Pontiac, you can use traditional head gaskets instead of multi-layer steel, and those are considerably cheaper. The multi-layer head gaskets are expensive. So, and then the other thing is too, like your timing cover and your oil pan gaskets and that kind of stuff, that is all printed. It's got, it's not like the old engines where they were cork back in the day. We use a fiber type material, which is a way better type material, holds up better and it doesn't leak. But even so, using our better gasket is still cheaper than buying a new oil pan, timing cover, valley cover, those kind of get things for the LS engine. So I don't honestly. My truck engine when I freshened it, and I did not bore it, so we didn't have to buy pistons. We didn't have to recondition the connecting rod because they're a fracture style rod. And for you guys that don't know what a fracture style rod is, what they do is they literally score the side of the connecting rod and they bust the cap off of it. Okay, they don't machine it, and that cap only goes to that connecting rod. You cannot change it with any other one because they all break different, just like a fingerprint on humans. Everybody's got a different fingerprint. So same thing with those fractured connecting rod. So I didn't replace my connecting rods. I didn't replace the pistons. I just replaced the bearings and rings. So we didn't have to bore it. And the cylinder walls don't wear that much in an LS engine. My Suburban's got 400,000 miles on it. The engine that I freshened had about 240 on it. The cylinder walls look great. We honed it, but we didn't have to bore it. And but anyways, so without any major machine work, all I had was parts. And you gotta, I put new valves in it. I put new lifters in it, which comes with new lifter trays. I put all new gaskets, of course, and new oil pump. And you have to buy new oil pump pickup tube. And there's a lot of little stuff that you don't think about that we Pontiac guys take for granted we can reuse on those engines that you cannot use on an LS engine. And I think that my total on my parts with no machine work and no labor was just under $6,000 for everything. That was cam lifters and everything, but
And that was without a tune.
yeah, without no tune and without and not doing anything extravagant. Again, no pistons, no connecting rods, no. I didn't grind a crank. I didn't bore. I didn't have to do any of that stuff on it. So, that's Pontiac wise, the same parts that I did on that engine, you can buy an engine kit for probably because you don't have to buy all the bolts and all the special gaskets and everything. It would probably be about half of that. Maybe a little better than half, maybe around 4,000. So for a stock rebuild and parts. So what are these guys saying? I'm not keeping up. Are you?
So mainstream GM out of mainstream GM engines that can't top a big block Chevy V8, Steve Morris SMX is big block Chevy hybrid with 426 Hemi features.
Yep.
And Perry said IA2 block built naturally aspirated will make a naturally aspirated LS go home.
Yes, it will.
And Andy Whittle says, what about the choices of intake manifolds for the two builds?
Yeah, that's another thing too. Good point. Intake manifold choice for an LS. There's not an inexpensive intake manifold, so that adds quite a bit to the cost of an LS engine as well. We're spoiled, now prices have gone up quite a bit for Pontiac stuff and Chevys too here in the last 4 years. So a lot of this stuff, used to be we could buy a carbureted intake manifold for 250, $300. Well, those days are gone now. They're between $400 and $500 now. But still, even so, an LS intake, a lot of them are polymer, and they're $800+ Some of them are a couple grand. So there, there's big expense involved in building an LS engine. All these hot rod magazines to sell magazines, and now they're not even. I don't think magazines are doing real well anymore. I think everything's
Online.
online,
On
yeah.
YouTube.
So you don't see hot rod and popular hot rodding in all those magazines anymore. But anyhow, for them, what they did so they could sell magazines, we can build a LS 5.3 liter twin turbo engine making 1,000 horsepower for $5,000. Well, yeah, if you buy the Chinese turbos and you go to the junkyard and buy a worn out 200,000 mile engine and you don't care if it blows up or not, yeah, you can do that. I can say the same thing about a Pontiac engine. Oh yeah, I can build a $5,000 twin turbo Pontiac engine too, but it isn't going to last probably to get around the block.
Well, I know whenever when I was working at Coca-Cola way back, the guys were swapping out in their Honda Civics the LS, well, not LS motors then, they were the LT4 or whatever.
Right.
And they were throwing the eBay turbos on it and a nitrous kit, and they would literally purposely try to blow them up because they were so cheap.
Right.
You can get one for $200 and just take it out, put the new one in, go out the next night and race again.
Oh, you're talking about the old LT1 reverse coolant flow?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you want to do something cheap and you want to turbocharge it or even supercharge it, go buy the old GM 3.8 liter. Those things are almost indestructible, and you can buy them things dirt cheap.
I think the 4.3s aren't bad either.
Yeah, you don't see those too much anymore. That's the old 90-degree type stuff, and the 3.8 liters, I think they're 60-degree V6, but because they put them in every freaking GM car from like 1988 to even older than that, maybe 1986 to like 2010 or something. I mean, they use that same engine in a gazillion cars. And those 3800s are actually pretty sturdy little engines. They're almost indestructible. I remember back in the day whenever I was doing general auto repair, and we were buying engines from LKQ because we did a lot of engine swaps back then. It was cheaper just to buy a junkyard engine instead of building the customers. But anyway, LKQ reached out to me several times during the year trying to literally sell me no mile 3800s. They would have like 1,000, 1,200 miles on them because the car got wrecked or totaled or whatever, and I could buy that engine for like $200-300. And I mean, you couldn't buy the parts for that.
No.
So it was a brand new engine, literally brand new engine. Now I don't know what they go for. I'm out of loop now, but yeah, so that's just crazy. So yeah, the LS motor is not as economical as everybody would like you to believe, and the magazines that cover it would like you to believe. Honestly, what it comes down to is what your preference is, in my opinion. My preference is the Pontiac platform. I like the Pontiac V8.
Well, I also think, though, a lot of guys did the swap because at the time, Pontiac didn't have a reliable fuel injection system.
Well, and they still really don't. I mean, the only really reliable fuel injection, in my opinion, for a Pontiac is if you want to buy it for a hobbyist, is the Edelbrock ProFlow 4. That's what we use on most of our builds, and it's because their tech is way better than the rest of them. And I don't know if anybody from Holly or FI Tech or whatever watches our podcast or not, and I don't want to offend them, but their tech department sucks. You can, sometimes you don't even get a call back from them. You can call them, they don't answer the phone, and you have to leave a message. And if you get a call back, it's usually a week later. Where if I call Edelbrock, I get somebody as soon as I call, and if they can't solve the problem, they get their engineer, which I know personally now, and he'll call me back that day and we will have the problem solved that day. That's why I went to Edelbrock, and you can't beat that kind of customer service.
The motor goes way back 3.8 to the 60s. And Philip Thursday, I don't know either on the 3800. I'm not in the market for one yet.
Yeah, Philip's got one in his Grand Prix, and he's been beating the hell out of that thing. He's got supercharger on.
And then Joe Morgan said, "Thank you, Brent, for the Pontiac sign. I picked it up earlier today from your dad. I love it. You're welcome."
Yep, he wants to get your phone number too. He's got
Yeah, I talked to him.
Okay, good. All right. Yep.
I had called him on the way out to here.
All right, awesome.
And then BNR Racing says, "Need your aluminum ram air foreheads, Don."
They're coming. They're coming. Yep, we're gonna get. Hopefully, I wanted them by now, but unfortunately, that stuff's out of my control. I don't have any control over it, so it is what it is. We'll get it when we get it. But we are working at it. The other thing I'm working at, I think I told you guys too, is that intake manifold. The other thing we're going to do this year, I'm hoping. I don't know if Sammy's watching tonight, but I got to get
be this year. If you're counting on Sam.
Yeah, well then we're gonna if he,
a lot to have happen this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to not 24. I'm talking about 25.
Oh,
I keep saying this year because I'm already anticipating 2025. I'm already moved on. We're past 24. We're in the 25. So anyway, we're gonna do that new engine block, and my plan is kind of like what Steve Morris has done. You know, he's got the SMX and the SM, I don't know, S or whatever he calls his builds. They're not big Chevys anymore. Those are his design, and it's based on a big block Chevy, just like mine's going to be the DCI, and it's going to be based on a Pontiac platform, but we're going to make so many more improvements to that block. I don't want to let anything out of the bag right now because I don't want none of my competition getting it, but we're going to advance the Pontiac engine. We're going to bring it into the 20th century is what we're going to do. So, and I can't wait to get that done. But it's a long process. You guys are going to just have to bear with me. And a lot of you guys known me for many, many years, so you know that if I tell you it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It just doesn't happen on mine or your schedule, but it will happen.
Just seen. Oh, Peter Machinery or McGreenery.
McInnery, it looks like, yeah.
I'm thinking about ordering a WRX. I need advice, suggestions.
WRX.
A Subaru?
Yeah. I have no idea about Subaru. I have a customer that he's a Pontiac guy, and he wanted me to make a Subaru head because I guess they have a lot of problems with their heads. They crack, I guess, and their overhead cam, and they warp, and the cams go bad in them and stuff. But I looked at that head. It is such a freaking nightmare. It would end up costing a fortune for me to reproduce that head. I can't do it for what the factory does it, and I can't. There might be a market for it. I don't know. Maybe. And I'm not ever going to say I won't do it, but I'm telling you right now, looking at that head, that would cost a shitload of money to have made.
Perry said, "Don, side question: on a 535 build IA2, would you use a 6.7 or 6.8 rod, and why, please?"
The longer, the better. I would use a 7100 if I could get it in there because it depends on the connecting rod or the stroke. But yeah, you don't want that piston coming out of the bottom of the bore, and so the longer connecting rod prevents that from happening. So the longer the rod, the better. If you can't get a 7100 in it, I would put a 6800 in it.
So there you go, 6.8.
Yep.
BNR Racing said he used to talk to you on the old performance years back.
Oh yeah.
And then Ed Page just joined, and James Gasper.
Welcome aboard, fellas.
And
yeah, what's Ed Page think about the LS platform? We could stick one of those in a '69 Firebird. I don't know if his wife might make him move out though. I think she's the captain of that team.
Well,
I don't think that would work out well for him.
all right. So, BNR Racing said, going Raymer 4 614 iron in 2025. We'll buy your aluminum Raymer 4 heads. I need victory. 1 titanium valves, though. Bot have for my iron Raymer 4.
Yeah, cool. That'll work. Yeah, that now I don't know what length valve you got, but you're gonna need a little bit longer valve for my head because we raised the intake port roof up. So because of that, if you want any kind of spring installed height, the valve needs to be a little bit longer. I'm thinking that maybe 100 thousandths longer would do it. I don't know if that's what you got or not. Factory Raymer 4 valve length is like 5.2 what 230 or something, 50230 or 5230 or something. Yeah, it depends on who you get them from too. If they're Farias or if you get them from SI or whatever. But anyway, a little over 5200 long. And so if you want to gain 100 thousandths installed height on your spring, you just get a little longer valve and use a 5300. And the valves that I'm going to order for mine, whenever I'm going to get them custom made, and they're going to be, I think 5320 long is what I ordered for that.
Are those going to be titanium?
No,
Stainless?
Stainless. Yep, severe duty stainless. Yeah, we can do titanium if somebody wants to, but I can't sell the heads inexpensively with titanium. Titanium valves, the last custom order set that we just bought, I don't know about production run, never checked on the price on those, but custom orders were what, $2,800 from Trick Titanium.
You get all bills.
They were $2,800 or $2,600 for a set of valves. So yeah, no, you literally almost double the price of the head. Yeah, so titanium's out of the question.
BNR Racing said Raymer 4 iron was 5,200 roughly.
What's that now? BNR Racing, what? I recall it's roughly 5,200. Okay. Yeah, it's right around 5,200 and something. I don't remember the exact number, but they're just over 5.
Yeah, 5.2.
Yeah, 5,
I thought that was a comma.
Yeah, 5,200. So yeah, and so mine valves are going to be a little bit longer to get a little better spring in there, so we can accommodate some lift because my heads are going to flow pretty good. So you're going to want to run somewhere around a 650, maybe 700 inches of lift, even on the street.
Even more, but
yeah. I mean, I'm not designing this head for race. You know what? This is going to be a really nice high performance street head. And if somebody wants to take it to that level, they can do that. I'm going to add material in them so they can port them, and we're going to make it so the push rod's easy to move over without having to worry about putting a tube in them. There's a lot of things that we're changing and making these heads better, so that if somebody does want to up their game, it's definitely possible. So we're making the decks a little thicker on these heads too, just like I did in Raymer 5. Not as thick as the Raymer 5s. The Raymer 5 head, holy cow! I mean that thing's got almost an inch deck. That is a really stout cylinder head. So I raised the intake and the exhaust an inch on that head. I couldn't do that with these Raymer 3 and Raymer 4s because I wanted them to be a direct bolt on and make everything fit under the hood and don't have any problems with brake booster interference or any of that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so I see Ed Ped said no thanks. So maybe his wife was watching. No thanks, and I agree. No thanks. From what I'm seeing, those LS engines aren't holding up anyway. Everybody's starting to abandon ship on that program. There was that guy that ran that 62 or 63 Chevy Impala. Is it a Pro Mod or a Top Sportsman car? I don't remember now.
Top Sportsman car.
That blue one. Beautiful car. And he was running fast, but he couldn't keep it together. They just kept breaking it all the time. So yeah, we're not going to go there.
No, I think that was the biggest reason why people are putting the LS motors in their early model or late model, whatever you want to call it, cars because of fuel injection.
Well, and you know what? That's one of the things we're going to do too. We're going to modernize. I want to try to come up. I'm actually working with DIY, and they make us, an ECU, and and we'll have to get some custom wiring harnesses made up so they fit Pontiac engines. But I want to put together an easy bolt-on Pontiac deal that we can use, and we're going to try to come up with some kind of a way to make it easy for you guys to use a current intake manifold so that you don't have to have them welded. We can drill and tap and put a bung on the intake manifold so you can put an injector in it. So I'm going to work on all that stuff for you guys, and we're going to bring, like I said, we're going to bring the Pontiac engine into the 20th century. And if we can take care of the fuel injection thing, and we can take care of a few things for the engine block that'll make it so it's easier to adapt later model transmissions and stuff too, then what's going to happen is we'll be able to offer this engine, and maybe, who knows, you know what, I just talked to a guy a couple days ago, and I don't know if he's watching tonight. We're doing a Ram Air 5 engine for him right now, but I told him my idea with the new engine block and the Ram Air 5 deal and everything, and we're going to do an LSA style supercharger. He said, I'm doing a C10, a 67 C10 wide body pickup truck right now after he gets done with the Camaro or GTO that we're building the engine for him for. And he said, I would put that engine in a C10 pickup truck in a heartbeat because it's going to make more power than a LS engine will. That's the other thing, too. The Pontiac engines actually make more horsepower than the LS engine does. So NA and supercharged.
BNR Racing asked 400 CFM obtained from your Rammer 4 aluminum heads ported.
Well, I don't know for sure because obviously we haven't done anything like that yet. But I can tell you right now, as cast, they flow about 320. So I don't see why we couldn't pick them up 80 CFM with a little bit of port work and making them a wide port. And a little bigger intake valve in them too. And I moved the intake valve a little bit away from the cylinder wall, which we have it set up for a 219 intake valve, and but you could put a 2250 intake valve in this head probably pretty easy, and not have any problem between the two, the exhaust and intake valve. And if we can put a 2¼ inch intake in it, 400 CFM is definitely doable.
Tiger Head did it.
Yeah, my Tiger Heads did it, but I raised the port on those too.
Yeah.
I raised the port an inch on that head too.
But it's not all about CFM as it is cross sectional area.
Yeah, but the short term's got to be good, So
360, 380 will work as also, he said.
yeah, oh yeah, 350, 360 CFM head. That's good for, you can make, theoretically you could make 800, 850 horsepower with that much CFM. The biggest limiting factor with a platform like the factory head is the short turn is just too short, and the air has such a tough time making that corner that it hurts horsepower, and there's no way around it. That's why on the Ram Air 5 I raise the intake port up, and then that way it makes that transition or the waterfall or whatever you want to call that short turn, it makes it really gentle and smooth, and it allows the engine to make a lot of power. And speaking of that, I was talking to Chris Urachko at the PRI show, and of course he just did that Pontiac Ram Air 5 engine he built. And Chris is a man of little words, so he doesn't expound a lot, but you could get from his conversation that he's very impressed with the Ram Air 5 head. And like he said, he goes, I got bigger Chevy engines only making 40 more horsepower. So he said he's got 632s that are only making 40 more horsepower. Well, that's almost 70 cubic inches bigger. 90 cubic inches bigger than what he built. So
Steve Morris SML LS dyno normally aspirated just under 900 horse.
that's pretty stout. Yep. What cubic inch was that? Do you know?
Probably a 427.
I don't know. He builds big inches. Even the small block stuff are big inches.
Yeah, but isn't his SML though the littler one?
Yeah, it's the LS platform. But I think he stretched the bore spacing out on it too. It's a nice piece, real nice piece.
His 540 SMX BBC is about 1100 horse, normally aspirated.
Yeah. So that engine that Chris Urachko built with the Ramer 5 heads, it was 1140. Is that what it made? Yeah.
1138, 1140.
Yeah, 1140 horsepower, and it was only 10 cubic inches bigger than that 540. So, but yeah, that so many people think that it's easy to make 1200 horsepower, and it is not. 1200 horsepower NA engine, you better have your shit together, and it's got to be top notch stuff, and it's going to have a lot of compression. That was the other thing too about that Ram Air 5 that Chris built. It's only got 12-to-1 compression, and I think he's his other stuff that's making that kind of horsepower he's up around 16-to-1 compression. So, and our canted valve heads. So that tells you a lot about the cylinder head, and I hate to sound like I'm bragging on my stuff, but that Ram Air 5 head it's not a joke. That's a serious piece. Is that Steve's engine on there? So does it tell you any horsepower number and cubic inch on that?
Doesn't tell you. It tells you horsepower capable of.
That's twin turbo though.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell you.
So that's the other thing too, guys. You know what? So honestly, in my opinion, I think the Pontiac engine block is more stout than an LS block, even though it's a skirted cross bolt main block. The problem with the LS block is because they use them in production cars and it is skirted, they had to make the castings really thin. Well, whenever you make a thin casting, what's going to happen? You're going to lose strength. And so I think that personally, the old Pontiac engine blocks, if you prep them right and put hard block in them, they are way stouter than an LS platform. And now with the new cylinder heads that are available with the Ram Air 5 and my new 3s and 4s, if you can buy a 350 CFM cylinder head or 400 CFM cylinder head, now we're going to be able to make big power with these things on pump gas. We already are. We already got guys. Jude's. I don't know if he's on tonight, but he made almost 1,000 horsepower NA with pump gas with a 535. And we got a lot of guys out there that are making 800 to 850 with 467 cubic inch engines. So, it's all in the cylinder head. And to get that out of an LS platform, you got to have a pretty serious head. And that's the other thing, too. My Ram Air 5 heads are actually a freaking smoking good deal. And I'm not just saying that's because it's my product, but you cannot buy a 400 plus CFM cylinder head that'll make 1,000 horsepower on pump gas for a small block Chevy or a LS engine, even a big block Chevy, for the same money that you can buy a Ram Air 5 head for. And so we really we're leaps and bounds, in my opinion, ahead of Chevy engines and the LS engines. If you want to make big power with an LS engine, you go and you buy a Frankenstein, or there's another one out there. It's called the Mozark or Mozak or something like it. I don't remember. I think it's a guy's name. And so when you get into that type of a cylinder head that flows 400 CFM like the Ram Air 5, and the technology that goes into it, you're talking, $7,000-8,000 entry level, where my entry level on the Ram Air 5 is 5,900. So they're considerably cheaper than these other heads.
So the SML is a 400 cubic inch.
Okay.
It can be taken out to 427, and it's got 4 and 125-inch bore and a 4-inch stroke length.
Okay. Well, if it's got a 125 bore and a 4-inch stroke, that's a 427. Yeah, that's not a 400.
Well,
he says he prefers the limit to 400 cubic inches.
Right.
Yeah. So but that one that he probably dyno is probably a 427 or 454 or something. Because that stroke and bore is a 427.
It's almost the same as the Pontiac 428.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I think that with the Ram Air 5 head and somebody works it a little bit, you could match that. That would be able to be matched. NA. So. What do we got going on here? SMX comes in 2, 540 and 572. So at 8, hot 9,000 by accident last time out. Del West titanium valves.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
BNR Racing said that you can rev past 8,000 RPM with titanium valves, and Ed Page said he went 8,500.
Yeah, quite a bit. He did that with a big long arm too. He had a 4.5-inch arm in there, was revving that thing that high. So that's kind of scary. I know Ed reduced it, but for a while there, he was running a 4.5-inch arm in it. So yeah, Ram Air 5 is getting me very excited. Yeah, Perry, the Ram Air 5 heads are kick-ass heads. Yeah, I've modernized them. Again, we brought that into the 20th century. We raised the port. We improved the combustion chamber design. We improved the line of sight for airflow. We improved the airflow quite a bit. The factory Ram Air 5 heads actually didn't flow too awful bad. I've done a bunch of those engines, factory ones, and factory cylinder heads with a competition valve job will flow 320 CFM, which is pretty darn good for a head that's 60 years old. But my cylinder heads as cast will go 400 CFM with a 280 valve.
BNR Racing said Pontiac V8 will wind out. Don knows.
Wind out, yeah. Oh yeah. Watch that video on that my son posted of Brandon Deavy's '67 Firebird. I don't know if we had it on the camera on the tack when it went to 8,000 RPM or not. I know it was 7,400, but
I don't think it was on 8.
we revved it a couple of times 8,000 to see if it was making any more power up there, and it wasn't. Didn't fall off, but it wasn't making any more power up there either.
I was gonna say, because I think that was only 3 runs on that video.
Yeah. It was after that. I think we took it a little higher.
Yep. So, but yeah, so I mean, you know what? And the other part of the LS package too that you gotta, look, a lot of guys say, well, when you add the cost of putting fuel injection on a Pontiac, and if you want to do an overdrive transmission, which that's apples to apples. It doesn't matter if you're building an overdrive tranny for a Pontiac or you're building for an LS, it's going to cost the same amount of money. Yeah, the only thing different with a Pontiac is you're going to have an ECU or some kind of a control module to make it shift. Where with the LS, you're going to buy a factory computer or whatever, and it's got the control in it for the tranny. But anyways, the problem with the retrofit, if you're dropping it into an earlier style car, it requires a different style header. It requires a different oil pan. Requires a ECU and an engine harness. It requires ductwork and plumbing for the intake manifold. It's going to require the pulleys and brackets and everything where a lot of that stuff is not cheap for the LS motors, where it is fairly inexpensive for a Pontiac. So, you know, there's pros and cons to every engine. The con with a Pontiac engine is availability. I mean, let's face it, that's the problem. So if you can't, if you can't find one, then you don't have an option. You gotta do what you think's best for your car. But like I said, if you know enough people, and if you get on any of the Pontiac boards, you'll find if you want an engine, you can find it. They're out there. So.
Yep, sitting in a barn on 44.
Yeah. I'm reading. I wasn't paying attention to you. What was that guy says? Who's making Raymer 5 headers? We actually designed our own Raymer 5 header, and I have Mad Dog is the one that builds them for me. But Mark at Mad Dog, he's getting ready to retire, so that's one of the things I'm working on this year too. I'm gonna have to do something. I'm gonna have to find a young guy that wants to learn how to build headers, and we'll start building them here at DCI. But to answer your question, we do have a Firebird header now for our Raymer 5.
First and second gen.
Yeah, for the first and second gen Firebird, but he's got a 69. So yeah, yeah. So yep, we do have a header for that car, and it's 2-inch tube.
The only way to make Pontiac V8 shine again to public is to go out racing in numbers. I say at least 10 of us.
Yeah, that's a good plan. I like that. Something that I want to do too, and actually Brandon works for me, his ideas. We need to. There's a show.
We're not doing male bikini car washes.
Really?
That's your idea.
That's your idea. Uh-huh.
What, can we do midget car washes?
Yes.
Because I'm short. Yeah, little people. I'm a little people. Anyways, we have a show here that's called the IX Pistons Power Show. And so what I'm going to see is if we can purchase a large lot, and then we can get some of you guys all together at the Piston Power Show, and it'll all be DCI customers that have our products, Raymer 5s or our new Raymer 3 or 4 heads or whatever, and get maybe 10, 15 guys in that little square. I think that'd be fun. Another thing too is maybe what we could do is we could put together. I'm putting more on my son's plate, but we could do some kind of a where we meet at different racetracks where a majority of us live at. So, if we got guys that are in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio, we can maybe meet at Quaker City or one of the tracks over that way. It's close for everybody, and get a group of guys together too. So, or we could go to Norwalk if we have guys that are in Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio, and even Illinois. Yeah, so depending where you're at in Illinois. I think that the Brian from B&R Racing, he might be close enough because he said it was only 3 hours to Indy for him. It was 5 hours for us. So
Jason said that he'll build your headers.
Jason?
Yep.
Is that the guy that works with you?
Yep.
All right. Well, you bet. Don't be putting your ass in front of the cart, because I'll put you to work. Is he drinking tonight?
He might be.
Yeah, we'll see what he says tomorrow when he sobers up.
But no, he actually loves doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, that's good. So maybe we'll get him to build our headers. I was talking to a couple of young guys, and they actually want to go in business doing that kind of thing. They want to build headers, they want to build chassis and stuff like that. But I haven't seen them for a while, and I think that they got too many irons in the fire. That's the big thing. Is what? So everybody's busy, including myself. But busy people get things done, and so I'm constantly busy. I don't sit still. So we have a lot going on, but that's good if we get stuff done.
BNR Racing says in Utica, Illinois.
Okay, I don't know exactly where that is. So, I got a customer, and I think he watches our podcast, and I'm not sure if he's this guy here, this Michael. But we got a guy that what we're going to do is he wants to have us get a carburetor that we would recommend for his application and set it up with our fuel line that we do the return line back to the fuel tank and get the fuel line built from the fuel pump. He wants to run one of the, is it Mick Rob or Rob Mick? The mechanical fuel pump on his engine. So, and we're going to do a podcast on that. We're going to, I'll show everybody what we do to set the carburetor up for the application, and then I'll show everybody how we build the, the fuel line that goes to the carburetor with the return on it and everything, so that everybody can see how it's done. And but we're going to be doing that for him, and I told him I was going to do a video on it or a podcast. And he's all about it, so that's what we'll do.
Perry says we are all drinking. If Phil Thirst says he wants to do the headers too, but he's not young.
Not only that, he's a million miles away.
I thought you said he moved.
Well, he did, right next door to the lot he was at.
Oh.
He told me that just the other day.
Well, is it any further north?
Maybe by a feet.
Well,
a foot.
That knocks off 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, when he said he was moving, I'm thinking he's going to move to North Carolina. I don't know. No, he moved right next door.
Well,
Yeah, he told me he was downsizing. He bought 11 acres. That's downsizing? What'd you have before, Philip?
Is the grass greener over there, by the way?
Yeah. Did the grass get greener on the other side of the fence?
Michael said, yep, that was him. He thought you'd forgotten about him.
I haven't forgot about you, buddy. We've been really, really busy, so we're going to do that for sure. Just the end of the year thing coming up here. We have family and friends here to the shop for New Year's Eve. So right now we're cleaning our shop, and we got this place a wreck. I mean, it is an absolute disaster right now.
Looks pretty clean.
But the assembly room right now is super clean because we just took everything out of there and cleaned it and redid the floors. But we are going to move everything back into the assembly room and more shit back into the assembly room, and then we're going to clean the retail area next.
And Dad said that you're a wreck. I remember when Brandon or Blake said, "Jamie, you're a wreck." He's like 7. Jamie, you're a wreck.
You're a wreck. But anyhow, so what we might do though is, since we're not going to have our podcast, and New Year's is next Wednesday. Well, Christmas is next Wednesday.
Yep.
The Wednesday after that is New Year's. We'll live stream from here. We'll set up a camera, and you guys can all join us for New Year's Eve.
That'll be Tuesday.
Well, New Year's Eve is Tuesday, yeah. So
we'll be here New Year's Day.
Yeah, so we'll do it Tuesday evening instead of Wednesday.
Technically, we will.
Yeah.
Well, technically,
Yeah, so Mike Polson said Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year. And I agree. Everybody have Merry Christmas.
Yep.
And we'll be wishing you guys Happy New Year if you come and hang out with us on New Year's Eve. You don't even need to hang out with us. Just pop in once in a while, and every once in a while get this goofy guy to stand in front of the camera and say Happy New Year to you or something.
I may or may not have my nipples out.
Oh, boy.
Ew.
Yeah, well, if he does.
I'm just saying, when I get drunk,
Nipples are out when you're drunk.
they're
So
out
what
at
we-
the campground.
Yeah,
That's
they
because you
are.
always have your shirt off.
Why
Well-
run around the shirt off?
Like Randy from Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah. But anyhow, so we're going to be doing a little bit of drinking that night, a little bit of eating, and having a lot of fun. So that's the goal.
Yep.
Yeah. So Philip Third says it's only 1,000 miles away.
That's
That's
right.
it.
That's
Okay. Well then, hell, you know what? Yeah, I'll be able to be here
only-
tomorrow morning.
1,000 hours if you just non-stop drive 100 mile an hour.
Now, if you're walking 2 mile an hour, holy shit, that's a long time. He'll get here next month sometime.
Yeah, well, better late than never.
Yeah. And he better dress for him because he gets cold up here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, it's 7:15.
Oh,
and,
wow. Time flew tonight.
Yep. And we went over a little bit because we were late. So
Yeah.
we made up for hours.
Yeah, we put our OT in. Sorry about that, guys. We just, you know what, we try to get our new computer to work. So hopefully, we can get it working next week. So, well, not next week because we won't be here next week. But,
I want to get it working because it's driving me freaking crazy.
well, what we'll do is maybe we'll do a test run. We'll come on and say Merry Christmas to everybody. We get it working. How's that? Want to do that?
We'll try it.
Okay, that'll work. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, you know what? Appreciate everybody hanging out tonight. We had some good viewers again tonight. Looks like it's 54 right now.
Yep.
I don't never believe that counter though, because when I go on my YouTube thing there, it tells us we had like 140 or something.
Well, that's after the thing posts.
Even before that, whenever I was doing it before,
It was right here. 58.
58. Okay.
Yep.
All right, but that's good. We're getting a consistent 50 to 60 guys a week, which is awesome.
Yep.
And remember, guys, we got to get our subscribers up to 10,000. Oh, and one more thing before I go. I keep saying that, and I keep thinking of other stuff. But anyhow, I just ordered koozies today, or yesterday, actually. And so what we're going to do is to raise some money so we can pay for this and keep our channel going. I'm going to ask for a $5 donation, and with that $5 donation, you're going to get one of our beer can koozies, which you can have whenever you're watching the podcast, and we can all have our beer koozie. I'll have one too. And but anyhow, we're going to start. I'm going to get those hopefully here in a couple days, and we're going to start selling those here next month whenever we're doing our podcast. So we'll do that. Maybe another thing is we'll do T-shirts and that kind of thing. So we got to start raising a little bit of money so we can help pay for this.
Yep.
So, all right, guys.
All right. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, and we will see you New Year's.
Yes.